Hi everyone, welcome back again to the voting app with Django. So in this video we are going to continue with the authentication and then implement the voting system. Understand? So right now let's work on these buttons. We want to work on arranging these buttons on the navigation bar. So let's work on that right now. So to my code base now, so I'm going to head down to my base.html. okay, so these here we have those list of buttons. You can see the buttons, you can see the 4 of them. So I want to work on it right away. So if the user is logged in, we're going to check for that. We're going to say if request dot user dot is authenticated. If the user is logged in, we want to simply show these two buttons, the name of the user and the logout button. You understand? So let's just implement that right away. So I'll copy this guy. Okay, so paste it here. Okay, I'll say if user is logged in, we'll have these two buttons, else we'll have these other two buttons. So put these guys here. So we don't want to have the 4 buttons showing there at once. So if I refresh this page now, okay, currently we don't have any logged in user, so that's why we have the login. That's why we have the login and the sign up button there. So from the part 1 of this video, we stopped at logging in. So we want to be able to like show the user an error message that tells you if you're using the wrong credentials to log in. So let's work on that right away. So let's go down to our login view. Okay, login view here. Are you sure? This is our sign in view now. So for example, what we have here, it says if user is not known, log in the user. But what happens if the user is none? So that's where our error message comes in. You understand? So I'm going to come over here and say else. Okay, I'll say else. I'll say MSG should be equal to invalid credentials. Invalid credentials. Understand? So this MSG you have here, this variable you have here can only be accessible under the post request, and you need to also make it available in the get request. So I'm going to simply set MSG up here to none, to an empty string. Okay, so that's what so you need to do that. If you don't do this, you're going to face an error instead. So to avoid the error message, you have to also set MSG up here instead. So okay, so now I'm going to just come over here and say MSG and then we set it to MSG. So this variable helps to hold our our error message if the user mistakenly or tries using a wrong credentials to log in. Understand? So okay, we've done that. Okay, so over to our templates now. Let's continue to the sign-in templates over here. Let me open to the right of this page. So this is our sign-in template now. Scroll up. Okay, so now what I'm going to do now is this. Okay, I think just after this login, I'll just come over here and say if MSG, if message is not, let's assume if message is not equal to, if it is not an empty string, we are going to simply have our error message here. So paste this here instead. So this is what we are going to have here. So I'm going to know what is happening here. Okay, from the views now, from the view I did in the views now is this. If MSG is equal to an empty string, that means everything goes well. That means our user used the right information to log in. But if message has a value like this, if message is not an empty string, that means there's a problem. That will tell you that the user used a wrong credentials. That's what I'm trying to say over here now. If message is not empty, we're going to throw an alert message. We are going to throw an alert message telling the user is using that he or she is using an invalid credentials instead. So let's try that now to the browser. So I need to make sure these guys are working. So let's add the login and sign in, and the registration link to these buttons. So let's do that right away. Okay, base.html. Let's come over here. Where are you? Okay, so we have it here. called sign in for the login, and then the other one is called sign up for, yeah. So let's add the sign up URL. We say sign up to the browser, refresh, let's see, sign up. Okay, I need to add what's it called, the heading for this page. Let's go down to our signup.html, signup.html. Okay, just here I'm going to add an h4 and say sign up. Okay, so let's see what it looks like. The browser, refresh. Okay, better. So login, sign up, working. So the same thing for these two. Let's add them over here. Come up, where is it? At the bottom of the page we also have, yeah, okay, URL, and then sign up. Do the same thing for the sign in page. Ctrl C. Don't have an account. Okay, this is correct. Don't have an account. This should be signed. Sorry, this should be already have an account. Already have an account. So we are going to simply sign in instead. So it should be login. So I'm going to do the same thing for the sign up page, for the sign in page. So scroll up here, don't have an account, sign up. So we're going to put on the sign in link here. Don't have an account. Okay, yeah, this is perfect. So refresh the page. Yeah, so login, sign up, perfect. So now next thing, so now let's see. So let's log in and see. Now let's use a wrong information. So if I try using the wrong credentials, and if I click on login, because it tells me invalid credentials, that's because I'm using the wrong information to log in instead. So we are done with this. Now next thing to work on is the logout function. Let's quickly add the logout view, and we'll be done, and we are going to be done with authentication. So logout, so let's come over here and set def. We're going to say sign out, passing the request, and then right here let me just say logout. This logout I'm using here is a function, is a method, so you need to import it on top. So you see why I imported the logout method. So make sure it's imported. And then I'm going to say logout request instead. So, and then I'm going to say return redirects to the index page. So once you are logged out, you'll be sent back to the index page instead. So let's go quick. I'm going to add a URL mapping for this. So I'll say it's going to be called, let me call it logouts views.sign out. That's not the view, and then logouts. Okay, perfect. So if you go down to our base template now, we have the logout function, we have the logout button here, and I'll simply just put it there, URL, and then log out. Okay, I think we are done with the authentication aspect. If I refresh this page now, I'm going to log in now. Let me log in with, let me just say, I think let's try Sammy, and then let's put in the password. Hope this guy's log in. Okay, let me try Clint. Let's see. Oh, let's try Clinton. Okay, I'm logged in now, but it's still saying, okay, this should be Clinton, not John. So over here, I'm going to have the name of the logged in user. I'm going to say request dot user dot username. So if I refresh the page now, thank you. So if I click on logout, it will be logged out instead. So perfect. So the next thing to do now, I want to work on this detail page instead. So I want to make sure that this page can only be accessed if you are logged in if you're not logged in, you can't view the data, you can't view the voting page. Hope you get. So so I'm going to come over here. Okay, so the views now, I'm going to simply protect this, what's it called, I'm going to simply protect this view, understand? So I need to import something. I'm going to say import login required. Okay, login required. Now apart this is a decorator, I'm going to say login required, and I'm passing the login URL. Login URL should be equal to, if you're not logged in, you'll be redirected back to the login page, understand? So that's what is happening over here. So let's see right away. Okay, now let's say to the home page. Okay, click again. You can see currently we are not logged in, so you are required to log in before you can access the voting page. So that's it now. So we are not done. If you watch closely now, if I click on votes, remember, so right now if you log in now, our aim is to return back to this particular URL called vote/backend framework. See what I'm talking about here? So remember, if I click on programming languages now, I click on vote, I'm not logged in. So once I'm logged in, I want to be able to return back to where I was trying to access, where I was trying to visit, understand, the URL I was trying to access. So I'm going to show you how to implement that. So okay, so now let's work on redirecting after login, understand? So as I said before, I'm going to explain that again. So let's assume I want to vote under the front end. Let's assume I wanted to vote under this category called front end framework. Now if I click on this page, on this button, if you're not logged in, you'll be asked to log in, understand? So we'll check something. If you check our URL here, we have a URL parameter called next, and the value, which is the URL we wanted to visit. Or since we're not logged in, we were then interrupted with this sign-in page, understand? So my goal now is this. Now if I get logged in right now, I want to be able to redirect back to this URL I was trying to visit. So that's the goal. That's our next goal now. So now this is how we do it now. So I'm going to go down to this login template. Okay, now so I'm going to do something now in the login template. Where is it now? This should be it. Okay, yes, this is it now over here. So what I want to do now is this. So right now I want to check if this parameter is in the get request. So this is how we do it now. Say if request dot get dot next. So remember this next, you can see where it's coming from. Let me show you. This next you see here is a parameter name called next, understand? So this is a get request. I'm trying to check if this parameter is in the get request. So that's what I'm doing here. If request dot get dot next. So after I've done that now, so if this parameter exists in the get request, I will simply just create a new input field. So I'm going to call this, and it's going to be hidden. I'm going to give it a name of next. Name should be equal to next. That's important, and the value is going to be equal to, the value of the field is going to be equal to, value should be equal to, so I'm going to say requests dot get dot next. Understand? Request dot get, we can say request dot get, and then we're going to pass in next here. I'm not making a mistake. Request dot, okay, let's say request dot get dot next. So right now I'm going to set this to I'm going to remove this type of hidden first. I'm going to show you something. Go out to the login page and refresh this page right now. You can see now we have this. Our goal now is we want to be able to redirect to this particular URL when we get to login instance. So you can see that right now I removed this hidden attributes, and we could see the input field itself, understand? You remember, so whenever we click on this login button, everything we have here, both this field, the username and the password, are sent. They are sent over to the view function. This is our view. They are sent in this view, in our view function. We can access it here. So so if you're able to access it here, we can then redirect to that URL we passed here. The URL, where is it again? The URL we have here, the URL we have in this value. Hope you get. So I'm going to share it's been done now. So I'm going to come down to my views.py file. I'll simply come over here and say. So now in the sign in view, remember I told you before let me refresh this now. I told you before that in the sign in view we are going to have access to the three. Remember we have three fields now: the hidden field, the username field, and also the password field. So in the sign in view, I'm going to have access to the three fields instance. So under this if block, if the user is not known, I have to log in the user, right? And before I do right now, I don't want to just redirect to the index page. I want to check for something. I'll then check if next. Remember if you remember closely, this field is called next. The name of this field is next. In the standard, that's the name of the field. So I want to check if next is in the post request. Open as I'm going to say if next in request.post. If it's in the post request, if next is in request.post, what I want to do now is this. I'll simply say return redirect to, what was it called again, request.post.next. That way I'm going to redirect to instead. So this is the right way. I was going to say request.post.get. now pass on next here. So if next is, that's to tell you that if next is in request.post instance, so if it is there, we're going to simply redirect to the value of that next field. But if it is not there, we're going to simply redirect to the index page instead. So that's what is happening now. So now let's try again. To the browser, over here, if I click on programming languages, so currently I'm not logged in. I'm going to simply put in the right information there. If I click on login, you can see I am being redirected down to the place I wanted to actually visit instead. So right now I can then vote to get. So that's it. So now the next thing now is to work on the voting. So now let's do that right away. Let's work on that right now. Okay guys, so before we start the voting process, we need to go add some category items instead. So what I'm talking about over here, some category items. Remember, for example, we need to add category items under each category you get. So let's do right away. We're going to go down to the admin now. So 127/admin. So okay, let's add some category items. So we've only added the categories, which are these three. So now let's add some items under each of these three categories instead. So okay, so now let's start in now. So I'm going to let's start with program. I'm going to start with category of programming languages. Let's add JavaScript. Okay, programming languages. Let's see if I add another one. Let's add Python. So I'm going to pause the video and keep adding. I'm going to add 5 category items under each category. So you can basically, for you now, do the same thing on your own end. So let's do that right away. I'm going to pause the video and add these category items rather instead. Okay, so right now I've been able to add the category items. I made sure I added 5 category items under each category. So we're going to have 15 category items instead. So to my detail page right away, to the views.py detail page, our votes page. So right now I'm going to bring out the categories. I'm going to say categories should be equal to category dot objects. Sorry, it should be category items rather. Category item. It's not suggesting this for me. Let me import it. I'm going to say category item. So I'm going to say category item dot objects dot filter. I'm going to say category should be equal to the category we declared up here instead. So category instead. So I'm going to pass this to the context over here. I'll say categories. Okay, I'll say categories. Hope you get. Okay, now so detail page, where are you? Let me close this to guys. Detail page, where are you? Okay, I think it's here. Okay, now you can see over here we have some, these guys we have here are all static. They are all static. Now I'm going to remove everything. I only need one of it. Okay, and just here I'm going to say for category, in categories instead. So pass this guy over here, Control X, and I'll paste here. So before I proceed now, okay, now I'm going to pass the value. I'm going to simply come over here. Here's the part again. Okay, yeah. Now let me just come over here and say category dot title. Hope everything works well. Let's see. Refresh. Okay, yeah, perfect. So it's working. If you check closer now, if I click on JavaScript, if I click on Python, it's not being able to. We're not able to select Python or Java. If I click on Python is not being selected. If I click on Ruby, not being selected. C++, Rust. So now the issue is this. Now come over here. Okay, so where is it again? For this, so now we need to make sure that these two matches. Understand? So I'm going to remove this. What I did here. So now right now there's to be a number, like let me say 1 and 1. So you need to make sure that these two matches, the ID of the input field and these 4 of the label field. You need to make sure that they both match. So how do we do that now? So I'm going to pass over here the category ID. I'm going to say category dot ID. So I'll copy this guy, Control C, and I'll remove this number, the one you see there, and paste it. So you need to make sure they are matching. So for a particular category item, I want to have the ID of that category attached to this ID attribute and the 4 attribute of these two fields, the input field and the label field. So let's see. Refresh the page now. See if I click on Python, thank you, Ruby, you can see they are being selected. Okay, perfect. Now so now the next thing to do now is this. Now I want to go to right now I want to get, so right now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to simply, this value you see here, this value I want to pass in the category dot ID as a value. Understand? So that's it now. So what's the next thing to do? So I'm going to pass in my CSRF token. Remember, this is a post form, CSRF token. So let me check if this is recording. Okay, it's recording. So this is my CSRF token. So now go down to my views page. So my views function to the over here. I'm going to simply listen for a post request. Remember, whenever you vote, you're going to pick a particular category item and then click on submit. So by clicking on this submit button, a post request is going to occur. A post request is going to take, because this is a form instance. So that's it now. So check this out. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to say if request dot method is equal to post. So I want to simply get the ID of the category of the item we clicked on, the ID of the item we clicked on. If we check closely, I passed in the ID as the value of the input field. So I want to get the ID. How do I get the ID? Is through this name. Yes. So I'm going to get it through this category item, through the name of the input field, which is category item. That's how I'm going to get the ID. So I'm going to say selected item. Let me just call it selected item. Selected underscore item should be equal to requests dot posts dot get. I'm going to get it through the name. I'm going to get it through the name, as I said before, through the name of the field, which is what category item. Control C. Okay. So now dot get category item now. So I'm going to simply print out selected ID. Let's print it out. Selected ID. So now to the browser, refresh this page. Okay, if I click on Ruby and click on submit, something happened. Let's see what something was printed out. You can see, scroll to the bottom, we have 3 printed out here. If I click on JavaScript and click on submit, we have 1 printed out. Understand? So these are the IDs of the category item. So we are going to get the category item based off this selected ID we are printing out. Understand? But before we do that right away, over here we want to make sure this is not, I want to be able to, this is not dynamic. I'm going to simply just put there, this should be the, I'm going to say category title. Understand? It's going to be more dynamic this time. Let's see. If I click on programming languages, okay. If I click on front end framework, perfect, is dynamic now. So if I pick any of these guys now, I click on submit. So let's see, I'm going to have the ID which is 6. So now I'm going to simply get those category item based off their selected ID. I'm going to say, let me just say item should be equal to category item.object.get ID equal to selected underscore ID. That's it. Okay, now so after we've done this now, you might be wondering, so what is the need of doing this? I'm going to explain why we are doing this now. So whenever I click on a particular on a specific category item and I click on submit, that means the user has voted for that item as his or her choice. So once the user has voted for any of the item, I want to be able to like add up. I want to simply add up to the, for example, now if you check closely, let me show you my model.py. So these are our models now. This is our models. If we check now, we have this total votes here. This total vote attribute, this field called total vote. The default value is 0. You understand? So what is happening here is, so whenever a user comes in here and pick a particular item, you can only choose one. Whenever a user picks a particular item and click on submit, I want to simply add to this number. Remember, on default it's 0. So if the user should choose React.js, now I want to simply add 1 to 0. Understand? So that's how we keep voting. So if 2 users should choose React.js, that's going to be 2 plus 0. It keeps increasing. If 3 users choose Angular.js, that's going to be 3 plus 0. Angular has 3 votes, React has 2 votes. Understand? So what I want to do over here, I'm going to come over here and just say, so under in my views now, I'm going to just say item dot total votes. This total vote is here. Dot total votes, total underscore votes should be plus equal 1. So I want to keep adding 1. So if you pick a particular item and you submit, 1 keeps adding to their total votes. You understand? And once you've done that again, once you also add up to the category also has a total vote. So this category is going to hold the total number of users that voted under a specific category. You understand? Why the category item this total vote over here holds for just that category item. For example, it could be Java, it could be React. It's going to hold for just the category item. Why the category total votes? This particular field helps to hold the total number of users that voted under a specific category. You understand? Total number of users you get. So the same thing applies here. I'll come over here and say the same. I'm going to say category. We have it up here. Category dots. Okay, I'll just come over here and say, okay, that's going to be, I could just come over here and say category should be equal to item plus category, and then I'm going to come over here and say category should be equal to, let me just call this item category to avoid any name clash. Item category dot total votes should be plus equal to 1 also. And then I'm going to simply save. I'm going to save both item and its category. I'm going to save them. I'm going to say item dot save and also item category, item underscore category dot save. You understand? So that what is happening there to the before. So that's it. Now you really understood now. So let's see if it works. So now if I come over here, let's refresh now. So now let's open our, what is it called? Let's pick. So now I'm going to simply choose, let's choose JavaScript now. So okay, now to the browser, if I come over here, click on votes. So right now if I choose JavaScript, now click on submit. Okay, right now the user voted for JavaScript, right? So I'm going to come over here and refresh. You can see now the total vote has turned up to 1. That's because the user chose JavaScript. If I come over here and click on Python and click on submit, let's see what Python holds now. Python is going to also be 1. It's going to also be 1. Understand? It's 1. Understand? So that's how it's going to be now. So but right now I want to be able to now. So now remember. So now what is going to happen now is this now. So a user can only vote once in a specific category. So I'm going to come over to this category we have here now. Remember, we voted twice under the programming languages category. We voted for JavaScript and Python. So if I come over to programming languages now, you can see the total vote is now 2. That's because we voted twice under this category. We voted for Python, we voted for JavaScript. So the two of them sums up to give us the total vote we have here. You understand? That was happening now. So the next thing I want to achieve now is I want to make sure that a user can only vote once in a specific category. If you remember the last time I voted for JavaScript and I voted for Python, we can only vote for a specific item. You can't vote for twice. You can't vote twice under a given category as far as you are a user. So now let's implement that right away. Okay, so right now if we check closely now, under the category model and the category item model, we have this field called voters. These voters represent the users as voted in this category. The same thing applies here. These voters represent the users that voted under this category item. So how do we get to update these two fields for the category and also for the category item? How do we update the field? So just over here, okay, we're going to simply just come over here and say item dot voters dot add. We're going to simply add the logged in user. I'm going to say requests dot user. The same thing for the category. You're going to say item underscore category dot users dot add should be equal to request dot user. So you've done that now. So so the next thing now is this. I want to make sure that a user can only vote once in a certain category. You can't vote twice. For example, you can't come here and choose. You can't vote for JavaScript and then come back again and choose Ruby. No, you can only vote for a particular item once in a particular category. You can only vote once in a given category. So how do we implement that now? Okay, now so over here now we've been able to add up the users that voted. So now we're going to check. We're going to come up here and check. Now we're going to come up. We are going to say if the user is logged. We're going to say if request dot user dot is authenticated. If the user is logged, we are going to check for the category. We're going to say category. We're going to say okay. We are going to then say. I'm going to say if category dot voters dot filter ID is equal to request dot user dot ID dot exists. If it exists, if the key, let's say for example now, if the dot filter ID equal to request dot user dot ID that exists. If it exists, now we're going to just create a variable and say equals. We're going to say MSG should be equal to voted. What is happening here is this. We are trying to check if the current logged in user has voted in this category. Instead, I'm going to say, so we are trying to check if this logged in user is among the voters of this category. If the user is part of the voters, we're going to simply set MSG to voted. Instead, furthermore, we are going to set MSG to none. We're going to set MSG to equal to none. But if the current logged in user is part of the voters of this category, we are going to set MSG to voted. Instead, we are going to pass this MSG to the context. Instead, to the context, we're going to say MSG and then MSG. So that's it. So we're not done yet. So one more thing to the detail page. Where do we implement this? So now we'll simply do, I want to be sure the particular, we're going to simply just say, I'm going to say if MSG is not none, or let's say if MSG. So right now, if you say if MSG means that MSG has a value. Understand? So if MSG, that means MSG has a value. If MSG has a value, that means MSG is equal to voted. Understand? Because none is nothing. Understand? So if MSG has a value, so what are we going to do? We are going to simply do this now. We're going to simply just come over here and say if MSG. We're going to simply throw an alert. We'll throw an alert that says you have already voted in this category. You understand? So else, if MSG is nothing, if it is none, we're going to simply return the form where you can vote. Understand? So copy this, Ctrl X, and we have this here, paste. So else does it. Okay, to the browser. Okay, so currently Clinton is logged in and is trying to vote under the programming languages category. If I click on, let's say, Rust and submit, it shows an error. It says category object has no attributes users. That should be on line 35, fuse.py. Line 35. So it's called voters and not users. Voters. That was the problem. Voters. Okay, currently to refresh this page now. So I'm going to choose Rust. So currently I'm trying to vote under this category called programming languages. So I click on submit. Okay, I already voted for Rust. If I go down to my category item, you see that Rust will have incremented by 1. Rust is now, okay, sorry, it was 1, I mistakenly, it's 1 now. Okay, to the browser, I'm going to come back here. If I come back to this category, if I come back here, right now it tells me I have already voted in this category because I chose Rust. Remember, I voted for Rust, so I can't vote again in that category. You understand? So I can only go back and choose a different category and vote there. Instead, if I choose over here view, if I click on submit, I've voted over here already. If I come back to this front end, if I come back to this category called front end framework, I won't be able to vote again. I won't be able to vote in that category. If I come back here, it tells me I have already voted in this category. Understand? So you can see everything is working fine. So the next thing we want to do now, we want to make sure that once you vote for in a specific category, we want to be able to see the results instantly. Understand? So now let's work on that right now.